This is Healthy Aging with Dr. Michael Perskin.
Welcome to the Healthy Aging Show here on Sirius XM 110. This is Dr. Michael Perskin on Dr. Radio, NYU Langone Medical Center, Sirius XM 110. We've got a great show. We're going to talk about the cats and therapy animals at the Hebrew Home with Mary Farkas, Director of Therapeutic Activities. Really pumped about that. Welcome back to the Healthy Aging Show. I've been waiting for this segment. This is really exciting. We've got Mary Farkas here with us, and she is Director of Therapeutic Activities at Hebrew Home at Riverdale in the Bronx. And that is not Mary. That is a cat, but it's not an actual cat with, warm-blooded cat. It's a robo-cat. So, Mary, thank you for coming on with the cat. And I want you to explain for our listeners why we're talking about this on the Healthy Aging Show.
We're talking about this because this robo-kitty, as we call them, the sensory cats, has provided a wonderful inroad for us as a non-pharmacologic approach to easing distress in Alzheimer's and other dementias.
So people in your memory unit and people who have dementia, you're basically giving them a pet.
We are. We have a robust pet therapy program, including dogs, fish, birds, and now sensory cats. Right.
So tell us a little bit about how the cat works. Hasbro makes it, I understand. And I had it on my lap, right? We took some photos and stuff, and I petted it, and it makes a little meow. It purrs a little bit.
Yeah, so what's wonderful about these cats is they engage with you, unlike a stuffed animal, which could often be seen as infantilizing because it doesn't have any engagement level. This is very different. You can hear her meowing there into the other microphone. They purr. They respond to a scratch on the head by closing their eyes. They roll over. So they're a way to engage, and they elicit that caretaker role, that nurturer role in people.
Yeah. No, I don't know where I got the idea from, but I actually, several years ago, I had a patient who had a kind of not an Alzheimer's dementia. She had a stroke and had some anoxic brain damage. So she had the type of dementia that doesn't necessarily progress.
Yeah.
But yet she couldn't really speak. But we tried to figure out something that she liked to do, and we gave her a little baby because she loved babies. So we gave her a little doll.
Yes.
And she would change the doll, and put on the clothes, and she really liked it.
Doll therapy is another thing that people are really looking into, and I think it's all about how something is used. It's all about using it in a respectful way and using it to follow the narrative that the resident or patient is following. So as long as that's the goal and that's what's being done, then I think it's a beautiful tool.
And so what are some of the observations? So you have this animatronic, this robot cat, and you give it to a patient in the nursing home.
Yes.
And they do whatever they want with it.
So I had a case of a woman just a few nights ago who was feeling a lot of distress and confusion. She was sundowning, and she kept saying to me, I need to leave to go have dinner with my parents. I really need to go. And so I went and sat in her room with her. She's a big dog lover and animal lover. And I brought in our sensory cat, and I just put the cat on her lap, and she started to pet the cat, and she said, oh, I feel him purring. It's so calming. He's massaging my tummy. And the cat responded to her, and because the cat responded to her, she began to respond to the cat. And so she started a dialogue with the cat, and it took her out of her worries and took her into that caretaker role. And soon she was calm, and no medication needed, no other interventions needed.
Right, and is this typical when someone with dementia has anxiety, to broaden this out a little bit? So this is a specific thing. Not everyone has this cat around. So how does it align with what we know from clinical evidence and science?
I think that in terms of pet therapy, what we know is that, cortisol levels are lowered when one engages with petting an animal. And
so there's this amazing connection and calming effect.
Absolutely. And I think what it does is tap into people's strengths. And that's what all of us need during times of distress or anxiety, dementia or no, is to feel in control and to feel like we're able to resume a sense of calm. And I think this taps into that.
Wow. And so have you gone so far as to sort of give one of the residents this cat like it's their pet and it's their cat?
Yes,
and
we
they
have.
Give it a name and stuff?
Absolutely. We actually ran a drive to allow family members to purchase the cats for their loved ones over the holidays, and we provided these little collars and names on the collars and delivered the cats. And I have another resident who keeps the cat with her all day, several residents who keep the cat with them all day, and her cat is named Princess, and she takes her around with her everywhere.
Wow, so she carries a cat around
Yeah.
and stuff. And have you studied this? Have you guys studied it?
We haven't studied it yet, though. It's interesting you say that because it's something we've started to talk about quite a lot.
Well, I guess I have a relationship, and the show has a relationship with the Hebrew Home. And we
Right.
are friends of the show, and I know the place. But I learned about this in the New York Times when some of my colleagues forwarded me the article. So it was great, and actually they sort of want to kind of figure out how we can run a study, even on hospitalized patients. A little tricky, right? Because if you're sharing, you can't really share it because it does have what I would call a fomite, right? You can get germs and stuff. So it's best to kind of decide. Do you have a problem with that with residents?
We
How do you do
have specific wipes that we've gotten that we spoke to Hasbro about to get that were used to clean the cat, so there's
So
no
you can
infection
clean the
control
cat.
issues. So we
Right.
clean the cat in between every use, and we have wipes for that. And so I agree, it's something to be mindful of, but we found a way around it, thankfully.
It's a long-haired cat, and you could have other things. Did they do a dog like this too?
They do a dog, but I have to tell you that I think the cat is much better because it's life size, and the dog is a little golden retriever puppy, so
Oh.
it feels less real to me. And the beauty of the cat is that it's cat-sized, so it feels really real.
Yeah, and cats also, they're better at sort of just doing nothing.
Right.
Just ignoring you. Also, that's kind of what
Falling
they do.
asleep on your lap, all those things.
Or not. And what? So besides the cat, how else do you calm people with dementia down using therapeutic activities? While I have you on the show here.
Sure. I think what we do is we follow people's story. So whatever their story is, we follow them. It's very much about empowering them to be in charge of their narrative and going with them.
So can you give an example of that, so that it might be a practical use for one of the listeners?
Sure. So just today, I had a resident approach me to say, I need to go home to take care of my parents. They're elderly and they need me. And this resident was about 85 years old.
Sure.
So her parents have obviously passed on,
Yeah.
and she doesn't have the memory of that. So rather than say to her, obviously, which would be incredibly cruel, your parents are no longer alive, which no one would ever do, I said, you're such a caretaker. Tell me about your parents. They're so lucky to have you. Tell me their names. Tell me about where you live. And she did. And she began to speak with me about her loved ones and about her parents and what she loved about them and about her mother's cooking and all sorts of things like that. So I followed her story and empowered her to be the narrator and went along with her.
Okay, so that's great. So that's really important, I think, for people to understand. Well, we're gonna get back to the cat right now, but we are going to invite our listeners to call or email. If you we're speaking to Mary Farkas, who is Director of Therapeutic Activities at the Hebrew Home at Riverdale, which is a nursing home. And we're here on the Healthy Aging Show, and we'll take your emails and calls if you want to talk about the cat or therapeutic activities for people with dementia. You can send an email, docs@SiriusXM.com, or you can call 877-NYU-DOCS. That's 877-698-3627. So how many cats do you have over there? Like how
We're at almost 50.
Wow.
Yes.
So that's a lot of cats.
Yes, we have a wonderful grant this year for dementia care, and so we've used it in part to purchase more cats. And the beautiful thing about the cats is they're there any time of day. So
Right.
dementia is a 24-hour disease.
Right.
So they're available anytime, in the middle of the night, in the early morning hours, right before care, right after care.
And do they kind of shut down if you don't touch them for a while?
They do.
Like a
and
regular cat?
They do, and you can also put them on mute. So if you want to feel them purr, but you don't want to listen to them meow, that's
Right.
a choice.
Wow. Oh, so you can put them on mute, but some people probably like it. Sort of,
Absolutely.
sort of like the sound of birds to them in the back.
Absolutely.
Or not. But and the residents then do with them what they want.
Yes, there's a woman who speaks mostly German now, which is her mother tongue, and she spends a lot of time in our lounge, and she keeps a cat on her lap almost the entire day. And I asked someone to translate for me what she was saying, and she was saying over and over again, hello, love, as the cat meowed to her.
Wow. My wife's not demented. She says that to our cat like all the time. But it's a real cat. It's not a robot.
Even
But
better.
and I don't think she's demented. The cat might be. No, it's a nice cat. So, wow. So that's pretty exciting. So you guys got 50 cats. And do they come in different colors or they get confused?
They do come in different colors. There's this reddish tabby color. There's a pure white, which we don't have to ensure it doesn't get dirty, and there's a silver and white. So we have a combo.
I have to ask, do some of the other residents say, well, I'm allergic to cats and there can't be a cat here?
That's funny. Nobody's ever
Really?
said that to me, believe it or not.
That's interesting.
A question comes up a lot. Do the residents know the cats are not real? And I think the answer varies. I think sometimes they do know, and I think sometimes they don't. And I think it doesn't really matter as long as it's providing calm and dignity. Do most of the people who ask, well, certainly the ones who've asked for it are really into it, but the other ones where it's worked, were they always pet people, or is it even someone who wasn't a pet person? No, we have a resident, in fact, whose daughter told me, my mother loves this cat, but she never liked cats. She only liked dogs, but she loves this cat.
Wow. And has it ever not worked in a particular case?
Yes.
So what happened? Tell us about that.
Sure. So there was no intervention is one size fits all. Everything, just like every person is individual, every approach has to be individual. So we had a resident who had a lot of fear around animals, but she had a high level of agitation and she was starting to be less aware and be post-verbal. So we thought, let's try it one more time to see if as a sensory tool it's successful. And it wasn't. She didn't want to pet it. She didn't want to hold it. And she didn't exhibit any further distress, but it was very clear that it was not the right inroad for her. So we just took it away.
Yeah, I think that's the right thing. I might have to do that with the clicker. I read this little book, and I've been trying to train the cat with the little clicker thing. Whenever I give him the food, I do 2 clicks.
Any luck?
No, he doesn't like the clicker. But
I don't think cats like to be trained.
Well, that's how it says in this book I read. All right. Well, this is Dr. Michael Perskin. We are here on the Healthy Aging Show talking about cats, therapeutic cats, and how this is an excellent therapeutic activities, at least anecdotally, at the Hebrew Home, with Mary Farkas, who's Director of Therapeutic Activities. And we're taking your calls and emails. You can email docs at SiriusXM.com. You can call 877-NYU-DOCS. That's 877-698-3627. So what's sort of the most amazing success story you've seen with the cat? You told us about the lady who just talks to it all day. That's pretty successful. Anything else? Anyone who really had this other breakthrough with the cat?
There was a woman who was having a lot of distress one night. She was living on one of our enriched residential neighborhoods, and her Alzheimer's was progressing. So we needed to move her to a memory care neighborhood. It was a Sunday evening, and it wasn't an acute situation, so we could wait until the next day. But she was feeling pretty anxious and sad and confused, and so we wanted to try to mitigate that. So for that evening, since it was already about 7 p.m. on that Sunday, we brought in a cat for her so that she had something to take care of, had something to focus on, and that allowed her to calm down. No medication needed, no further intervention needed, and the next day she moved and the cat moved with her.
Oh, so she sort of got like a pet, like to go to the new house type of thing?
Exactly.
Amazing. So, that's great. I just think this needs to be studied, and people like these things because they're 3D and live. It's not like, maybe in 100 years, people with dementia will have their, iPhone talk to them, because we talk to our phones now.
But our iPhones will never be soft. No. Or maybe they will be.
Maybe they will. You don't know that for sure. So, Mary, let's talk a little bit about therapeutic activities in general. So how would you characterize that for someone who's not familiar with it?
I would categorize it as the department that focuses on meaningful engagement to empower people to continue to have autonomy, creativity, and enjoyment in their day.
Okay, and so what are some examples of some of the things? We've talked a lot about the cats. And
I would
you've
say,
talked about real animals, too.
Yes, I bring my golden retriever to work almost every day.
Wow, you have a great job. You give people cats, you bring your dog to work.
I sure do.
Wow.
So I think that one of the major components of our therapeutic activities department is the creative arts therapies, which is the use of arts interventions for therapeutic means. In New York State, that's a licensed mental health practitioner title, and so we're very fortunate to have about 10 of those on staff at the Hebrew Home, which means that our staff are trained in a broader subset of skills than some other communities, so we're very fortunate to have a lot of creative arts therapists. Additionally, because one can't be in a therapeutic process all the time, none of us would want that in our lives, we have wonderful recreational staff, So we try to offer a broad experience to people, just like all of us have in our daily lives, whether that's coming to our art studio or spending time outdoors or engaging in something just for fun or engaging in something more meaningful for therapeutic means. We offer a broad array of ways for people to spend their time.
That's great. So that's just part of the activity in life that goes on at the Hebrew home.
And I think you said it exactly. It's part of the life that goes on, and that's really what we emphasize. What are the strengths still inside of people? What are the joys still inside of people? What are the opportunities people still have to make meaning, to feel strong, to feel good, to feel the roles that they may not access all the time? How can we highlight that?
Yeah, I think that's really important. It always makes me a little sad when I ask someone, I had someone today and who's actually not that old and fairly healthy, and I asked what he does all day, and it was all very passive. I told him he needed to do active. Now, he's quite happy, actually. He reads and watches television, and he felt engaged in those activities. So for him, it works, but I think for the majority, that doesn't. It's not enough.
Well, it's interesting. I think that things are going to really change as the boomers come in, because most of us are not used to spending our days in groups. A lot of how we spend our time now is small groups, one-on-one with loved ones. So aging as a field has to adapt to make space for that, and I think we're really trying hard to do that at the Hebrew home. To notice that when two people are having a conversation on a bench in one of our memory care neighborhoods, that's an activity. They're engaged, they're being thoughtful, they're communicating, they're in relationship. It doesn't matter whether it's something formal or not. It matters that they're having the experience they want to have.
Yeah, well, that's sort of what goes on. I mean, if you walk around the city and you see that, and as an example, the neighborhood coffee shop, which was a fixture in New York, for decades, is a little bit going away for a variety of reasons. But in those shops were people that was sort of their area, that was their therapeutic activity. They went there for their one meal out every day. Older people, I'm talking about, or maybe people who were otherwise reclusive or introverts or something, but they had that sort of safe spot for themselves. And although you could say some of the coffee places are like that, and they are, when it's hard to change people's pattern for those. They need that place.
And I think it's important to notice, why are we trying to change people's patterns? Can we embrace their patterns? Can we say, this is what you need, this is what makes you happy, and so we're here to follow your journey. We're here to support. You're the expert on yourself, so we're here to back up your expertise, even if you can't communicate your expertise the way you once could because of memory needs.
So that's the skill of someone who does therapeutic activities, is helping someone make their own story, make their narrative.
That's a beautiful way to say it. I think so. I'm very lucky. I have an amazing team of colleagues and staff, and they work hard at that and at supporting those strengths inside of people.
Yeah, and sort of coaching them, because people need to be coached sometimes. They actually have it in them, but they don't think they do.
And also sometimes they haven't accessed that part of themselves for a long time. So how does music therapy access that role inside of yourself that you haven't found? How does dance movement therapy do that? How do we celebrate when someone's in a wheelchair? How do we celebrate the smallest baseline of the raising of a hand, the raising of the shoulders? How do we really take that moment in and see it for what it is, which is...
I'm trying to keep my shoulders down because I keep on raising them up. That's just bad for my neck. I'm doing the opposite. Eventually, we'll have to raise them back up.
You'll need dance movement therapy.
All right. So I already need that, but we're not talking about me. We have an email from Stephanie, and she writes, I saw a wonderful YouTube video of a severely demented woman who woke up when she heard music from her era and started singing along. Is music therapy a usual treatment for people with dementia, and why do they respond to music like this? Great question, Stephanie.
Absolutely.
Mary?
Wonderful question. We're very lucky to have several music therapists on staff as well as musicians, and of course the difference being that musicians are there on the spectrum between engagement and entertainment. Musicians focus more on entertainment, though of course the goal is still to engage, but it's more on that side. And music therapy is meeting non-musical needs through music. So absolutely, music therapy is part of the treatment, and part of the reason music is so effective is because it takes so many different parts of the brain to remember music. So even as the brain starts to be diseased, there are parts of the brain that are still able to remember music, which is why music that you hear from the 20s, 30s, 40s is so effective with older adults.
Right, but it depends on what year they were born. What if when
Certainly.
When it's the boomers, it's not going to be
We'll be
40s
hearing a
and
lot more rock and roll.
Led Zeppelin, you listen to Led Zeppelin.
Absolutely.
I think it's going to be big band.
I think big band will be done when the boomers are in.
Yeah.
But similarly, everybody loves different kind of music. We happen to have several opera singers on the neighborhood where we call them neighborhoods, the floor where my office is. So we spend a lot of time playing opera music because that's the love and the access is that strength-based role that we were talking about of so many of the people.
Wow. Okay. So sometimes you got to ferret those things out. So, and they respond because that's something that they always responded to, and you're just sort of happening on it.
And also, it accesses that long-term memory. It's not reliant on short-term memory. That's the beauty of creativity. There's no right or wrong. There's only the present moment.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's you're getting really Taoist. It's like some Eastern mysticism. It's only the present moment.
But it is true with dementia. It's
totally
really
true.
about the moment. Moments really count in this work.
Yeah. And so how do you... So for anxiety, since we're on the Healthy Aging show, so anxiety is a really big deal. So how can people use therapeutic activities for themselves, without dementia, when they're just sort of walking around at work? Or what do you like to tell people to do?
What a lovely question. I think that the goal is to find something that brings you comfort and brings you joy and reminds you that you're in charge of your own life. So whatever that may be for you.
Yeah, wow. I take a deep breath. That's my own thing. I count my breathing in and out.
Well, I think that's a great place to start.
Yeah, because I'm breathing, so things aren't that bad.
Exactly.
All right, let's read an email from Geraldine. I'm really intrigued by this robotic cat idea. How did you introduce them to your patients? I'm thinking of giving one to my mom. Okay, Geraldine. Yeah, so tell us about that. We got a couple of minutes. Mary, so how do you actually do it? What's like the technique? If I were the demented patient and I was like nervous or crying, what would you do?
Staff members each have one of these cats. On my team, I have a team of about 20 people, and each staff member has one of the cats. So they bring them most of the time around with them throughout the day we have 19 different neighborhoods where we run groups to the 19 different neighborhoods because dementia is prevalent throughout the house, even though we have dedicated memory care neighborhoods. The cats are offered sometimes to the lap of somebody in the middle of when we're about to start a music therapy group. The music therapist might bring the cat over and set it on the lap of somebody who says, oh, I see the cat. We see that happen a lot, that somebody will ask for the cat and that it'll get wiped and then passed around during the group. And the cats are presented to somebody as if they were a delicate and real cat and something to be cared for. And then we follow the cues of the residents.
So that's in a group, and you're using the group dynamic to support it. But for Geraldine, what would you suggest there? What should she do? Just give it to her mom, or should she just leave it in the room and wait for her mom to ask for it?
Geraldine, I would suggest that you bring the cat to your mom and bring a brush with you. We've found that people love to brush the cats, gives them a way to very actively caretake, a way to very actively engage. And when you're brushing the cat or stroking the cat automatically begins to respond, and then the engagement loop is ongoing and the relationship is happening and being built.
I see. So you give them an opportunity to succeed.
Exactly.
More or less. And brushing seems to be one specific activity that people could do, and it's a repetitive and it's easy, it's not complicated.
Yes, it's easy to have mastery over it.
And easy to have mastery over it. I like that. So because they could do it a little harder, a little softer, cat will be okay with it.
Exactly. No wrong way to brush the cat.
Right, not this cat.
Not this cat.
Amazing. Okay, and so if you could tell Hasbro to make any improvements, what should they do?
They should make a small dog. They should make a Yorkie.
Okay, they should make a Yorkie.
Or some other small dog that's lap size, so that dog lovers have one also. You
want a dog that's life size. Okay, we got to get you in front of those people.
I have a phone call with them Friday.
Oh, you do? Oh, okay, good. Well, we should study this.
I think that would be amazing.
Cats versus dogs. Because there may be some differences. We don't know. Well, Mary, I really appreciate you coming down and bringing the cat. This is Dr. Michael Perskin on the Healthy Aging Show. We are going to say goodbye to Mary, who's Director of Therapeutic Activities at the Hebrew Home at Riverdale, and we're going to study robotic cats. That's the idea.
Thank you for having me.
And maybe dogs. I'd also like to thank my previous guest, Dr. Andrew Freeman. We talked about cold weather activities for seniors, and Dr. Gary Small. We talked about dementia and delirium. And for all of you listening, thanks for doing that. And we'll talk next time on the Healthy Aging Show.